All right, let's dive into some news topics. I think the biggest news topic of the day is Sony. They did a 180 on their PlayStation 3 and Vita store. We talked
Mm-hmm.
about this 2 weeks ago, where they had
Mm-hmm.
announced that they were going to discontinue the digital storefronts for the PSP, the PS3, and the Vita. And today they released a press release on the PlayStation.blog reversing that decision. Now, they are still removing PSP games, but if you own a PlayStation 3 or you own a Vita, well, you've got some extra time.
I was not expecting this. I was not expecting this at all.
Hmm.
When I saw this article, I was like, "There's no way," and because I thought to myself, "Well, clearly they listened. They paid attention to the pushback, from the community, and I'm glad that it worked at least, for the time being." What's the extension on this? I haven't done a ton of research.
Well, on their store, or excuse me, on their website, they don't give a date.
Okay.
It just says this is the press release. It's fairly short. Recently, we notified players that PlayStation Store for the PS3 and PS Vita devices was planned to end this summer. Upon further reflection, however, it's clear that we made the wrong decision here. So today, I'm happy. This is Jim Ryan that's making this announcement. So
Mm-hmm.
today, I'm happy to say that we will be keeping the PlayStation Store operational for PS3 and PS Vita devices. PSP Commerce functionality will retire on July 2nd, 2021, as planned. When we initially came to the decision to end purchasing support for the PS3 and PS Vita, it was born out of a number of factors, including commerce support challenges for older devices and the ability for us to focus more of our resources on newer devices where a majority of our gamers are playing on. We see now that many of you are incredibly passionate about being able to continue purchasing classic games on PS3 and PS Vita for the foreseeable future. So I'm glad that we were able to find a solution to continue operations.
Foreseeable future. Those two words are always a good sign.
Yeah, but I mean, here's the thing, right? They're tracking these sales and they're doing it with even more scrutiny now.
Hmm.
Because I guarantee you, Jim Ryan is going to get a report every single week. How many PS3 games have we sold this week? How many Vita
Yeah.
games have we sold this week? And
Yeah.
if that number hits zero ever, it's getting cut.
hmm This is a moment in time where gamers sometimes need to realize that after all, this is a business, and there are going to be business things that are going to happen that we're not going to like, and I completely get that. So I think there's like I respect what they're doing from that business perspective, but they also have to understand that gamers are not necessarily business minded
Mm.
or business people. So what they want is games. So they can run a business, but they have to also make sure that they're running a business for gamers, not other business people. So
The thing
um,
is the store for the Vita and the PS3 really should be integrated into the store for the PS4 and the PS5.
I agree with that.
It should not be its own entity. It
No.
should not have, like, the only thing that needs to be different about the entire process is the trigger that sends an authentication from the store to your gamer tag to authorize that purchase for download.
hmm
And I don't know what kind of voodoo magic they have to do to get that done, but there's no reason that these games should not be available on the PlayStation 3 website and have it be the same exact experience as a PlayStation 5 website.
hmm
If I
hmm
go onto, Sony's store right now and I type in, Vita games, it shouldn't take me to an old antiquated version. It should
No.
bring me to the up-to-date version of the same store, of the same experience. And you know, a charge card is a charge card. If you're updating your store's infrastructure, it should update across the board.
Yeah,
I
I agree.
understand. I mean, like, there's a need for security. There's a need to update that information and keep people's money secure. And I get that and I respect that, but it should be the same process. There shouldn't be two separate experiences just because it's an
Not at
older
all.
system.
Not at all. And it's annoying.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've had to hook up my PS3 to access that version of the store, and then they changed the PS Store, the main PS Store recently to be more interactive with the PS5. Then they changed the app.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the app doesn't work well. Sometimes the website version of the store doesn't work well. I know you've had issues with that.
Oh, it's a nightmare.
And then when you get onto the console, that seems to be like the best way to do it, right? Naturally, they make it where the store is most efficient when you're on the console, and I get it. But can we just make it streamlined across the board, like you're saying? I want to be able to go on the website in the browser on my PC. I want to be able to do it from my phone. I want to be able to do it from the console. Just make it the same.
Right. Yeah.
So there may be like issues there, stuff that we don't know about as gamers as to why they can't just streamline it. But it's hard to believe when it's 2021 and you're just like, come on, dude, like you can do this in other aspects of business. Can we just get it going?
Right. I know that the experience going from a mobile device to a desktop computer is going to be different because Google and Apple take a cut out of any purchases made through their devices. If you're using, so like for example, the Xbox app, right? I can browse the entire Xbox store from the Xbox app on my Android phone. I can tell my Xbox to download games, but I cannot purchase them outright. And in order for me to complete that purchase, I need to go online on the website and make the purchase, or I need to do it from the console. And this kind of works there's a pro and a con to this. They've enabled it so that basically I don't need to own a game to download it. So if I buy a physical copy of a game, I can download all of the necessary components to play that game before I even put the disc in. Which was very useful for like Cyberpunk, for example, because that was a huge game.
Sure.
But then, I think they take like Google, I think takes like 30%. Remember, we had a pretty big discussion about this when Epic was fighting against Apple with Fortnite. It's the same kind of thing. It's the same thing.
That's a good point.
So, I know Sony's kind of got their issues there that they have to deal with, but that doesn't change anything about the act of purchasing a game in a web browser.
Yeah. And not to mention, I think it was Colin Moriarty mentions that the PS Vita is still really relevant. Like apparently there are some games recently that got canceled. I was like, what?
Yeah.
There are games still being made? There are games still being canceled? I mean, I'm so out of the Vita realm. It's not even funny because I never had one. I've always kind of wanted one. But apparently it's way more relevant than I ever anticipated.
Well, it's got a cult following. The Vita had a gorgeous screen, especially for the initial release.
It was an OLED screen, wasn't it?
It was an OLED screen.
The original one.
Yep. It's a beautiful system. The graphics look great. It has the ability to stream content from your console, so you can, play games through that. And the only thing that's really lacking is the same controller layout that the PlayStation 4 has. And they found ways to work around with that because the back of the system, I guess, is touch sensitive, is capacitive or something.
Yes.
I haven't really played any games that utilize that, so I don't have much experience with that feature.
Uncharted was one of them.
Was it?
It was an Uncharted Vita game.
Okay.
I don't remember the name of it, but apparently it utilized it well. But again, it's kind of like the PS4 controller speaker. It was used in like 8 games, and we were kind of promised it was going to be a vital feature when the console was debuted. So, yeah, just one of those kind of like hidden things. Yeah, Golden Abyss.
That was the Uncharted game, Golden Abyss.
Yeah, Dave just helped us out there.
Yep. He also notes that it is the ultimate PS1 Classics console, and that is true.
I've heard
most of the PlayStation digital purchases that I have been PlayStation 1 games.
Yeah, you ever notice how it says PS1, Vita?
Yeah.
I think I've noticed that on a lot of those PS1 classics, and it's kind of like, hey, you should probably play it on this because it's going to look really good.
Yeah, and they do. They do. I mean, Twisted Metal handheld, beautiful.
Oof.
So, but man, like this is great news, but just the fact that they even paused for a moment to seriously consider taking the store down.
Yeah.
Like now,
Still not a great sign.
yeah, like are we all going to run out and buy, all these digital games that we weren't going to buy before, or like what's the plan from here?
Do you think that happened already? That a lot of folks got caught wind of the news, right? And then they started like maybe buying games that they didn't quite have the money for, but they did it out of fear. And now they're like, are you kidding me? Now
There
I've got more time.
there were I haven't personally watched any of these videos, but there have been dozens of videos from prominent YouTubers that have been like top 20 Vita games you have to buy before the store closes.
Oh, yeah.
You
Whole
know,
videos just orchestrated around how to do this.
right? I know Metal Jesus had one. I saw
Oh,
that
I'm
come up in
sure.
my list a few times, and I don't know what the content is like, so I can't speak to the quality of any of these videos. I guarantee you, some of it is people trying to get a few hits.
Sure.
If I was active with my YouTube channel, I might have done the same thing.
Hmm.
But you know, do we want to? Do we want to give them the money, like reward them for making that decision, or is it just a matter of time before they pull the rug out again?
I think you make a valid point, sir. And what Joe said in conversation in Discord, he said something along the lines of, this would be the last time that I would give them money after doing this. And I thought about that because at first I was like, well, yeah, but I thought about it more, and I think he raises a good point. Why should we dole out more money when they were entertaining this idea to begin with? Is
Mm.
it the right thing to do, or should we do the opposite and not give them the money, and then maybe they see that on their sales charts?
Yeah, it's kind of a tough spot to be in because now if that does come back on their sales charts, they see the gamers speaking their voice in that way. Well, they're gonna view it as in like, well, nobody's buying, so let's just
Hmm.
cut the store.
So we were right. We were right. We should have just pulled it
Exactly.
because there's going to be that guy in the boardroom meeting that says that.
You're absolutely right.
And
And
Jason, I told you, man. I told you we should have pulled the plug.
man. Anyway.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about it. I think I'm still just like soaking it all in, and I
Mm,
think I'm happy to see that they're trying at least to not do this.
yeah.
But you're right. I think you make the best point, which is they did think about doing it, though.
Right.
It's like they didn't cheat, but they thought about doing it. So do you really forgive somebody that
Yeah.
almost did it?
Quick note from Epic Outro. He says it sucks for gamers, but you can't expect them to uphold these decade-old storefronts forever.
Hmm.
And my answer to that is yes, I can, and yes, I do, because those games are so minuscule in the amount of data that they require, and
Hmm.
hard drives are so cheap. Maybe you scale back on your redundancies so that you don't have maybe hundreds of servers around the world. Maybe you just have dozens of servers around the world because you don't need to handle the same amount of traffic. But there's absolutely no reason that Sony cannot take a game like Twisted Metal, which is probably like 200 megabytes,
Yeah.
and make it available to gamers for generations.
Yeah,
Just
it's hard to refute that. I mean, Dave has a point. I mean, that was initially my reaction. I was like, well, out with the old, in with the new mentality. But at the same time, you raise good points about the storage of these files and the
mm,
storage of these games. Is it really that much of a burden for them to keep them around in the archives for people to pay money for?
I don't know what the entire PlayStation 1 catalog would require as far as storage space, but I'm pretty sure I could afford it.
It's like 1 gig. It's obviously more than that, but
Yeah, yeah,
I'm joking. I'm
yeah,
joking.
yeah. No, you're fine. So anyway, I'd love to hear what everybody else thinks. So if you're
Yes.
listening to this, whether it's on our YouTube page or you're listening to the podcast, the audio, um, leave us a comment, drop us an email, wdgrpodcast.com, swing on by our Discord room, tag us on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and let us know what you think. Is this a good decision? Is Sony right? Are the gamers right? Who's right? I want to know.
I think I'll rest my case with this statement. If you were thinking about buying Xenogears for PS1 for a long time, and you want to buy it when you're good and ready, with them pulling the plug, and you don't get that game, you will be forced to buy the disc version.
How much
Am I
is
not correct about this?
Let's
Is
see.
that what we face, Drew? If they can't get these games before they maybe pull the plug, will their only option be to emulate it or buy the disc copy?
That would be correct. And loose, you're looking at $60. If you want to get it with case and manual, it's 160.
Yeah.
So,
So right now, last time I checked, Dave, it was $9.99 on the PS Store, and it usually sits at $9.99.
hmm.
So it's either buy it now, or it's you buy the disc version, or you emulate it. So those two options, if they pull the plug, are not very practical for your average gamer. And I think that's my point that I want to end with is $9.99, you get it in 5 minutes. That's the future that we would face if they don't pull the plug. If they pull the plug, we're looking at discs or emulation.
I will say that the emulation for the PlayStation 1 has been quite good. And there are a lot of options that are fairly easy to set up. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, I think, for most people to do it these days. But I hear what you're saying. It is work to.
We're talking like Raspberry Pis at an entry level.
Yeah, or even like if somebody were to buy the PlayStation 1 Classic, you can get like a thumb drive, a USB thumb drive, and like sideload games on pretty easily.
The miniature version?
The miniature, yeah.
Yeah, there is that option. That's a good point. Are those readily available or are they rare now?
They're pretty easy to get, and they're
Okay.
they're frequently cheap.